Ryan, I want to talk to you directly. You are, if not the youngest, certainly one of the youngest paranormal researchers around, and your interest started, was it age 15 after an experience? Is there anything about that that you would be willing to share with us?
Oh, I had some experiences when I was younger, and you know, I tell my trainees, people who are coming into this, you know, a lot of the paranormal investigators, we're all made up of the same stuff. Adam and I have actually had similar experiences that happened to us in our youth that were unexplained, that shook us up, actually. You know, when you're a child and suddenly, you know, you see things levitating, or you're hearing voices, or you're seeing this black cloud kind of move about, it frightens you.
Well, yeah, if it happened right now, it would frighten me, a child or not.
And so what's left is you spend your adult life trying to seek out answers to what happened. And that's, I guess, what I'm trying to do is, you know, this was engraved in my memory, in my head, such a young age, that I started looking for answers. And of course, when you're 15 years old, no group will take you in. So I pretty much had to build everything up from scratch. And you know, in the age of the internet, you have a bunch of ghost hunters now who aren't really contributing to research or helping people. It's just about getting cool photos. And so when I came to Penn State, I said, you know, let's try to do something reputable here.
And you talk about the ghost chasers, as it were, and one of the things that they point to is there are orbs in the photographs that they take. And I use the word debunk, maybe that's too strong, but in such an instance like that, what are they seeing? What do you think they're seeing? Is some of it junk, some of it real?
It's actually quite simple. In most cases, those are particles of dust or other debris. So if you take a camera and it's focused on you, for instance, say 5 feet away, and I put an object here, it's going to be blurry and out of focus if I held a pencil up here, for instance. If I put a speck of dust here, it's also going to be blurry and larger. And let's say I've got night shot running on my video camera, which is putting out an infrared light to shine on you, which is what you see in a lot of the paranormal TV shows now. You've got a bright light shining right here on a little speck of dust, lighting it up, and it's blurry. What's it going to look like? It's going to look like a blurry little round light. And because it's a dust particle and you're walking around, it's going to move.
So is it your position then that most of the things that we are seeing, that many people would consider to be paranormal, have an everyday explanation if you just sit back and look at it critically?
I think a lot of things can either be explained through better understanding of physics, better understanding of the instrumentation. Most people, unfortunately, don't even get educated on what the EMF meter is reading. How does it work? What is the technology doing? Just to hold up a box and say, oh, look, the number went up. That's not actually telling you much. It's just telling you something happened. But unless you understand what's going on, you don't know. Within psychology, there's a lot of things that the human mind can do and the brain can do that doesn't happen often, but certainly is natural. It's natural to occasionally have a temporal lobe transient, which is a little misfiring in the temporal lobes. There's a great researcher named Michael Persinger, who anybody can look into, who has found that if you put magnetic fields across the temporal lobes of the brain in the laboratory, he can turn on paranormal experiences like that. Sensed presences, feeling like you're moving out of your body, hearing things, seeing things in the corner, this kind of thing, just from a temporal lobe misfiring. We know that also from temporal lobe epilepsy, that can cause paranormal experiences. So we have to be really careful about getting mental health professionals in there and understanding the bounds of what we know and understanding that there's some weird things in life that are part of the human experience. They're just not common, and that doesn't make them ghosts or demons.
How do you know then, if we can stimulate an unexplainable or paranormal reaction in our brain, how do you separate from what we know into what we don't know?
If that coffee cup slid across the table in front of both of us, you and I would probably agree that something odd happened today. If I show that film footage to anybody else, they won't necessarily believe it. You and I will, because we were there and we experienced it firsthand. It'll be almost impossible to convince somebody else. The laws of physics have to be broken. They have to be observed by somebody else in addition to yourself and or recorded on camera. Outside of that, you really can't know for sure that something odd happened.
There are a couple of prominent disappearance cases here in central Pennsylvania. Cindy Song and Ray Griecar. And there have been paranormal investigators of some type or a psychic involved. Can you tell me a little bit about the involvement in the Cindy Song case?
Well, what we did with the Cindy Song case is we brought in a psychic named Carla Barron from Los Angeles. We got to know her. We found her to be a legitimate woman. And you know, the best thing that we could provide was having the police, or giving the police, you know, maybe an alternative look into what might be happening. So what Carla did is that she did reads. She even came to the area a few times and identified certain things that the police have confirmed she would not have known unless she was involved in the case, which of course she couldn't have been. So, you know, the best thing that we could do, and the thing that PRS did, is that we tried to, you know, monitor and document and record as much of this as possible, because, you know, nowadays it seems like every police department is using psychics. And, you know, Carla and PRS and the Ferguson Township Police, they were actually the first, or were one of the first departments to publicly come out and say, yes, we're working with a psychic, yes, we're having some results. And then, you know, next thing you know, there's a TV series on Court TV dedicated entirely just to psychics working with police, which Carla has been on in the Cindy Song case. To my knowledge, Carla is no longer working in the place because the Pennsylvania State Police took over. Right. And I guess they no longer requested her assistance. Now she's working on the Ray Griecar case, which happened, I think, what, in August?
Oh, I've lost track. It's been so long. But we would expect the same type of thing. And you said a very interesting word there to me, and that is, you said you found that she was legitimate. As opposed to like Whoopi Goldberg in Ghost. So what separates her, what makes her a legitimate psychic and not one who wants $9.95 a minute?
Well, I mean, when it comes to psychics, everyone has their different perceptions. And I'm very sensitive to the psychic, the mediumship, because with some psychics, you know, it is a parlor trick. It is a game. With Carla, you know, one of the, hands down, if a psychic can tell you something that you can verify she could not have known, and it's not something vague like, oh, you know, you have such a troubled past, and oh, you had a horrible relationship, you know, a few years ago. Well, duh. But I mean, if she starts saying, oh, well, this journal or something, or this specific thing happened to you last year on this date involving this person, and she can give you names, that, in my opinion, is legitimate.
Or creepy.